So how do you decide what type of shoe that you're going to buy online? How do you decide whether or not a shoe is going to fit the way you think? In this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about this and what you should look for. Hey, I've organized all my playlists on this channel so that you're able to easily find different types of shoes, different brands of shoes, as well as finding all my shoe battles, worth the price shoe reviews, etc., all in one place. Enjoy. Hey everybody, this is Wisconsin Shoe Guy, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about buying shoes online and knowing how a shoe is going to fit before you buy it. I think this is especially true if you're buying used shoes or if you're taking a shot and buying a pair of shoes, from an unknown source where you can't return it, right? So this is important, and this is kind of information that I've kind of learned over time. So first, let's talk a little bit about lasts. Okay. Most recent shoes that I picked up are a pair of Alden 990s, which are shell cordovan plain toe bleachers. They are right here. Okay. And these are, beautiful shoes, but they're used. I picked them up for a song compared to the list price. They were well sunned, really kind of shoes that looked like they were in a showroom for a while, but had very, very little wear inside and out, just really, really great shape. But, how do I know that these are going to fit me just right? Well, the truth is that this is an Alden and this is on the Barrie last. Okay, so when you think about the Barrie last, what do I know as an Alden customer about the Barrie last? Well, I have my Loden suede boots, which is on the Barrie last, and so that means that the shape of the shoe, the way that it fits, okay, the heel, the amount of lacing that I have when it's laced, all of that is going to be exactly the same. And so because I have that boot on the same last, it helps. But sometimes the shoes are different too. So again, you want to be sure. Well, it just so happens I have an Alden 979, okay, shoe, which is also on the Barrie last. So because I had those, and because it was the same exact size on the same exact last as two pairs that I have already, I was able to approach the deal with confidence, knowing that this is, that I know what I'm going to get, and that I know that it's going to fit, and that this isn't going to be something I'm going to be reselling because I made yet another mistake of buying something online that I couldn't return, and that I would be stuck with. Now, I'm fortunate. Okay, my job allows me to travel around the country, and so when I wanted to purchase and acquire my first Aldens, I was in San Francisco, and I was walking along the street, and there's an Alden store. Went inside, talked to the sales rep, talked shoes for 10 minutes. Realized that he was quite as much into shoes as I was. We talked about Alden. We talked about what Alden brought to the table, and I made the decision there. And then I was going to buy shoes from this individual. We tried on different lasts. We tried different sizes. We wanted to see kind of where it best fit me. And then I went on my merry way and saved up my money. And when I could, I bought 3 pairs of shoes, right? So not an uncommon story, a very traditional story. You go to a shoe store, you build a relationship, and you buy shoes from the people that you like, right? I also happen to have some friends in North Carolina who own an Alden Shop. It's not a company Alden Shop, they're a dealer, Ealdwine, and they're the ones who put together this beautiful MTO for the boot for me, and that's why I picked up this from them. Great guys. They have a great shop. Really, they have clothes too. Really, really good. I've bought some wallet from them. Just really, really good classic stuff. And they know much more about shoes than I ever will. And they both have collections that put mine to shame, to be honest with you. So, just really great experiencing, these individuals and really the brand, right? I'm an Allen Edmonds guy. I came up on Allen Edmonds. I've probably had 100 pairs of Allen Edmonds over the years, but I was the guy who would buy 3-4 pairs a year and donate 3-4 pairs a year as well. The first time I ever sold shoes was this year, and I've sold 40 pairs, and I'm far from an expert and far inexperienced compared to many of my peers in the shoe collecting world. So, but as I looked at, the Barrie Last and how I would know that it would fit, I utilized the experience that I had in Allen Edmonds as well, right? The Barrie Last looks a lot like the 511 Last, which is what my Bradley is on. I had problems with fit there, so it really kind of gave me some ideas. Barrie is one of those that they say to go down a size. I have very strange feet. Okay, it's fine. I have shorter toes. I have a really long foot, so my heel to ball measurement is a 12. My length measurement is between an 11 and or 10 and a half and an 11. I was wearing an 11.5 E for a long time because I had a lot of girth in the shoes. I lost a lot of weight. Now I'm more like an 11D. So I've gone from an 11.5 to an 11, but my foot is, still the same length, but the break is just fine at 11 between an 11.5. Now I had been originally sized at a 10.5 triple E. Candidly, one of the things that I learned in my quest into shoes was that they cut the leather, okay, for a shoe. They cut one piece of, they sew the uppers together, okay, separately, and then they put the uppers on the lasts to make this shoe the right size, okay? Not a big deal. The thing is that if the shoe is they use the same piece of leather for maybe 3, maybe 6 sizes. Now that means that your proportion, specifically this on wingtips, if you're at the top size for a smaller piece, the proportions can be weird, and so you could have the wingtip all the way up here and versus having this space in between. So it can really change. Well, my experience was that at Allen Edmonds, that was very different between a 10.5 triple E and an 11, to the point where I actually decided to go up a size for it. And by the way, my foot bent better in the shoe, and so it felt better because I was actually at a better point here, where it actually felt good. And so as I've been learning about this, that continues to be a way that I do that. I also have my pinky toes can get cramped in the shoe if it's not wide enough, and that's uncomfortable, as going through the day. So that can be another area where sometimes I have to go wide. Sometimes so I can't go narrow in order to accommodate that. I have to make sure that it's kind of just right, and so I'll run into some problems with that. Anyway, knowing how the last fits, knowing how the last feels after a full day of wear, because your pinky toe, you can't really tell when you're trying shoe on, right? That really takes an all day thing, and if you get blisters or something like that, that can make a big difference. That makes a big difference for me. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But I thought it was interesting that as you look at it, the shoes themselves, the proportion in these shoes in the different designs is also something that's really interesting to me. I'm just learning about shoes and learning about how things go. And you think like this is a plain toe or hole cut blucher, and this is a long wing blucher, so the proportions should be pretty similar, and they are. But I think if you look at this exactly lining up here, right, the lacing starts in the same place because they're both bluchers, they're the same size, they're the same last, and that's pretty easy. But they both have 5 eyelets. If you buy a pair of bluchers that has 3 eyelets, that could be a lot higher. That can really change the way it feels. So that's also something that you need to look at as you do this. Okay, now the proportions of this, the roundness of the toe, the level of depth on the shoe, that's all the same, and that's part of the last. Okay, so just take a look at the way the toes are shaped. That's all part of the last, and that's all part of what makes them good. Now, one of the things that's really unique about Alden is that they actually give you the heel width on the shoe as well. So if you have narrow heels and you need to special order shoes, they give you the ability to be able to see that. Now, when you have a split toe shoe, and I'll use the boot as an example, but it doesn't matter if it's a boot or a shoe, okay? Where the this piece is on the shoe is again going to be the same for all the shoes in the same size on the same last. All right. So those proportions, which I just talked about, which is the reason that I talked about them, are important if you like the way certain shoes look on your foot in that proportion. And so that's all part of you know, how I choose what shoes to buy and so forth online. So anyway, hope you find that helpful. If you have any questions, I welcome comments, and thanks for taking the time to watch. Appreciate it.